The film opens with a mysterious scene. A man swimming in the ocean discovers an ancient trunk. When the box opens underwater, a vibrant green mask that floats to the surface. This is just the beginning of our wild adventure. Cut to our protagonist, Stanley Ipkiss, a mild-mannered bank employee living an ordinary life. When Stanley offers to take a female coworker to a special event, she manipulates him into giving her both tickets, claiming her friend would love to go. Being the good-natured guy he is, Stanley hands over both tickets without question, missing out on his own plans. His friend immediately calls him out. "Everyone walks all over you. When will you learn?" While they're talking, a stunning woman named Tina enters the bank. She places her bag on the counter and asks Stanley to help her open an account. What Stanley doesn't realize is that Tina's bag contains a hidden camera, secretly recording the bank's layout. She's actually working with a gang planning to rob the place, but our innocent Stanley is completely oblivious. He's too busy being charmed by her beauty. After Tina leaves, Stanley gushes to his friend about how gorgeous she was. His friend suggests they forget about women and hit up a party that night. There's just one problem: Stanley's car has broken down. At the repair shop, the mechanics can't fix it immediately, so they loan him a beat-up replacement car that's barely holding together. Stanley drives this rattletrap to the exclusive party his friend mentioned, but when he arrives, the security guards take one look at him and refuse entry. They don't want his kind inside. Humiliated and dejected, Stanley drives away in the broken-down car, but his night gets worse when the vehicle breaks down completely on a bridge. Frustrated and angry, Stanley gets out and stands by the water. That's when he spots what looks like a body floating in the river. Being the good Samaritan he is, Stanley doesn't hesitate. He dives into the dark water to save what he thinks is a drowning person. But it's not a body at all, just a pile of junk that created the illusion. Among the debris, he discovers that mysterious green mask from the opening scene. Back at his apartment, Stanley examines his strange find, thinking it's some kind of unique antique. His dog immediately starts barking at the mask. Animals always sense when something supernatural is nearby, don't they? Standing in front of his mirror, Stanley can't resist trying it on. "Let's see how this looks," he says, placing the mask over his face. The moment the mask touches his skin, everything changes. It fuses with his face, becoming part of him, and Stanley's entire appearance transforms. His face turns bright green, and suddenly he's filled with incredible energy, dancing and moving with superhuman speed and agility. When Stanley steps out of his apartment, he terrifies a neighbor who's also wearing a green face mask, but hers is just a beauty treatment. She's so shocked by his appearance that she nearly shoots him, but Stanley bounces away like a rubber ball, leaping from his window with impossible agility. On the street, Stanley discovers he now has amazing powers. When a rude driver honks at him, Stanley pulls out a tiny horn from his pocket. But when he honks back, the sound is so incredibly loud it shatters the car's windows and makes the driver's hair stand on end like he's been electrocuted. Remember those mechanics who gave him that terrible car and caused his humiliation? Stanley pays them a visit, and let's just say he completely trashes their garage in the most spectacular way possible. After his night of supernatural mischief, he returns home exhausted and falls asleep. The next morning, Stanley wakes up completely normal, no mask, no green face, just regular old Stanley. Looking in the mirror, fragments of memory return. Was it all just a crazy dream, he wonders. But his question is answered when police officers knock on his door, asking about the disturbance the night before. The neighbor who tried to shoot him is there too, describing a terrifying green-faced man. Stanley plays innocent, claiming he was asleep all night. After the police leave, Stanley confronts the mask. "You made me do all those weird things. I should throw you away." He tosses the mask out of his room, but when he returns, it's sitting right back where it was, as if it moved on its own. At work, Stanley's boss berates him for being late. "I couldn't sleep properly," Stanley explains, but his boss just continues the verbal abuse. Later, Stanley discovers something interesting in the newspaper. Tina, the beautiful woman from the bank, is actually a singer at the exclusive nightclub where he was rejected. That's the same place his friend had invited him to. Stanley desperately wants to see her perform, but he can't afford the expensive entry fee. Looking at the mask sitting on his couch, Stanley has a realization. Maybe this mask understands my situation. Maybe it's here to help me. And clearly, I can't get rid of it even if I try. So why not use its power? Stanley puts on the mask again, transforms into his green-faced alter ego, and heads to the bank, not as an employee this time, but as a robber. But here's where things get complicated. Just as Stanley arrives to steal money for the club entry fee, Tina's criminal friends show up for their planned bank heist. While they're outside preparing their robbery, Stanley smashes through the bank's window and confronts them. "You're too late. You can't rob a bank like amateurs." Then he speeds away so fast they can barely see him. When the police arrive, they find Tina's gang and assume they're responsible for the robbery. Meanwhile, Stanley, now flush with stolen cash, arrives at the exclusive nightclub in a luxury car. He bribes the security guards with wads of money and finally gets inside to see Tina perform. Tina is mesmerized by this mysterious green-faced stranger with seemingly unlimited wealth. They dance together, and she's clearly attracted to his confidence and apparent riches. But their romantic moment is interrupted when Tina's criminal boyfriend arrives and recognizes Stanley as the bank robber. The gang opens fire, but Stanley's supernatural agility makes him impossible to hit. The police storm the club and arrest Tina's boyfriend and his crew. The gang leader tells the officers, "You want the real bank robber? Find the green-faced man." As evidence, the police discover a piece of Stanley's tie at the scene. The investigating officer recognizes the tie and becomes suspicious. How could Stanley, a lowly bank employee, afford to be at such an expensive club? He visits Stanley's apartment with questions, but Stanley claims his tie was stolen and denies being at the club. At work the next day, Stanley's boss is particularly nasty to him again. This time, Stanley snaps back, "Don't push me, or you'll regret it." His newfound confidence surprises everyone. That's when Tina visits the bank, asking Stanley if he knows the mysterious green-faced man. Playing it cool, Stanley tells her he knows the guy and can arrange a meeting that night. Curious about the mask's origins, Stanley visits a local expert on ancient artifacts. The man explains that the mask belonged to Loki, the Norse trickster god, a mischievous deity who was banished from Asgard for his immature pranks. This mask contains his essence, the expert explains. It amplifies the wearer's personality. Stanley tries to demonstrate by putting on the mask during the day, but nothing happens. The expert dismisses him as a time waster. Stanley realizes the mask only works when he's alone, probably at night. That evening, Stanley transforms and meets Tina as planned, but the police are waiting, they've been watching him. Tina panics and runs when she sees the officers. Stanley tries to hide by freezing in place, but he doesn't realize that just because he's not moving doesn't mean he's invisible. The police surround him easily. Caught red-handed, Stanley lets out a comical yell that's so powerful it literally makes his skull expand like a cartoon character. The supernatural sound somehow hypnotizes the police, making them dance uncontrollably while Stanley escapes to the other side of the street and removes the mask. A female friend who happens to be driving by sees Stanley looking panicked and offers him a ride. Since Stanley is pure-hearted, he trusts her completely and tells her everything about the magical mask. Big mistake. This woman is actually working for Tina's criminal boyfriend, who paid her to capture Stanley. The gang tortures Stanley and threatens to kill him unless he reveals how the mask works. "Just put it on your face," Stanley tells them, hoping to save his life. When Tina's boyfriend puts on the mask, he transforms too, but unlike Stanley's comedic transformation, this man becomes a genuinely terrifying villain. The mask amplifies his evil nature, making him more dangerous than ever. The villain sends his men to Stanley's apartment to steal the bank money, but Stanley's loyal dog witnesses everything. The clever animal follows them back to their hideout and sees his master tied up in their car. The criminal mastermind creates a fake mask and plants it on Stanley, then dumps him in front of the police station. When officers find the counterfeit mask in Stanley's pocket, they arrest him immediately, convinced they've caught the bank robber. In jail, Tina visits Stanley and finally learns the truth. Stanley explains everything. He's the masked man, but now the real mask is with her evil boyfriend. The mask reflects the wearer's true nature, Stanley warns. "I was innocent, so it made me funny and mischievous. But your boyfriend is evil, he'll become a monster and destroy the entire city, not just rob banks. You have to stop him." Tina realizes her mistake but feels helpless. "How can I stop him? I'm planning to leave the city anyway. I finally understand he's a dangerous gangster, and I want nothing to do with him." Meanwhile, Stanley's dog has been busy. While the jail guard sleeps, the clever animal steals the keys and helps Stanley escape. When a police officer discovers them, Stanley grabs the man's gun and uses him as a human shield to get out of the building. On the other side of town, the villain has kidnapped Tina and taken her to a nightclub owned by a rival gangster. Jealous of the other criminal's success, the masked villain confronts him. The rival gangster opens fire, but the supernatural mask makes the villain bulletproof. He absorbs all the bullets, then spits them back out like a machine gun, killing his rival instantly. The villain ties up Tina and straps a time bomb to her body. "You wanted to run away from me? Let's see you run now," he taunts. That's when Stanley arrives for the final showdown. Thinking quickly, Tina uses psychology against her captor. "If you're going to kill me, at least let me see your real face one last time." When the villain removes the mask to show his face, Tina kicks it away from him. The mask flies through the air, and Stanley's dog catches it. Now the cute little dog transforms into an adorable but fierce monster. It attacks the villain's henchmen, biting and clawing them while still looking impossibly cute. Stanley fights the now powerless villain with his fists while trying to reach his dog. Champion, come here. It's my turn to wear the mask. The remaining henchmen open fire on Stanley as he's about to put on the mask. One bullet hits the mask, sending it flying, but Stanley's superhuman speed allows him to catch it and transform instantly. The bullets that hit his transformed body pass right through him. When he drinks a glass of juice, it pours out of the bullet holes like a sieve. Stanley rushes to save Tina, grabbing the time bomb just as it's about to explode. Instead of throwing it away, he does something completely unexpected. He swallows it. The bomb explodes inside his supernatural body, but it doesn't harm him at all. For the final confrontation, Stanley uses the mask's reality-bending powers in the most creative way possible. He draws a toilet handle and flush lever on a nearby tree. When he pulls the handle, the entire villain gets sucked down into the ground like he's being flushed down a giant toilet, disappearing forever into the earth. Just as the police arrive to arrest Stanley, the club's owner, who happens to be the city mayor, steps forward. Officers, I witnessed everything. Stanley is innocent. He's a hero who stopped a dangerous criminal. You should be thanking him, not arresting him. The police officer spots Stanley's dog still carrying the mask and starts to pursue it, but the mayor scolds him. This is your problem. You're more interested in chasing animals than catching real criminals. The next morning, Stanley, Tina, his dog, and his friend return to the bridge where this whole adventure began. As Stanley and Tina talk, he admits, I accomplished amazing things with this mask, but I thought you only liked me because of the powers it gave me. Tina shakes her head with a warm smile. Stanley, human nature, your real nature, is the most beautiful thing about you. I like you exactly as you are. With that, she takes the mask and drops it back into the ocean where it belongs. The film ends on this perfect note. Stanley has found love, confidence, and most importantly, he's learned that he doesn't need magic to be special. Sometimes the greatest transformations happen not through supernatural powers, but through believing in yourself. And that's The Mask, a story about finding the hero within yourself, even when the world tries to keep you down. Thanks for watching.